and trash the crystal jets they kept in storage inside you. I was told never to question it. Now I'm facing 20 years for every night I try to ingest the snow so lightly.
Star City Games own Chris Romeo.
Don't give him a
How you doing?
Howdy.
So you have many fans all over the world, and Chris, you've been through quite a little, I don't know, we call it an emotional roller coaster of angry to sort of mad to back to not angry anymore. There was
I have. It's not really something I want to talk about. I do want to let everybody know, though, that now you see why I haven't updated my picture on Star City.
Oh, the stash. The stash is gone.
Yeah. My wife, one of the few women who didn't like my mustache, and since she's now my wife, she wins. By the way, I don't work at TGI Fridays. This is just if I worked at a place like that, I'd work at Tchotchkes. I like Evan's writing. Even before he started the video, I liked his writing. He's a good writer. He's fun. He's funny. He's entertaining. Entertainment, folks. That's what it's about, folks. All of you, even both of you.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. And yourself, Joe.
I'm Joe Al-Khazraji. How you guys doing?
How long have you been playing Magic, Joe?
Since Alpha? No, Beta. Wait.
Gamma.
What was the word for Beta? Unlimited? It's unlimited, right?
I guess.
Unlimited.
Yeah,
I used to have a deck that had four of every Mox and 4 Lotuses.
Wow.
And then you quit for how long?
Then I quit for many years after selling those cards.
Sold those cars and you bought this house, right?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Right.
So yeah, I used to have a deck with all Moxes and Lotuses, no lands, had no lands in it whatsoever. I'd get first turn Shivan Dragons and things like that.
Oh my God.
And by the way,
of course, this is before there was a DCI, so.
True. Then they're like Chaos Orbit, you know. I mean, how long have you been writing now? You've been going for a long time.
Been writing Magic. The first article that I got published was on the 7towers.net because Carl Allen was doing something for them. It was right after regionals of 2001, and I remember the impetus for it was a Japanese exchange student that we were playing with at the time had actually, with some of his Japanese friends while on the net, had come up with that Obliterate Jokelhops deck for regionals. Mm-hmm. And he had actually tested it with us, but he said, please don't tell anybody about this deck. And I thought, you know where I'm going, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, this is great. I hope if this works, he gets credit for it. Anyway, so he's working on this deck and asking that nobody write anything about it.
How about Rancor?
2 weeks before regionals, one of the people who had been there posts an article on one of those sites. I don't remember if it was Mind Ripper or... By regionals, people were playing the deck, and I thought, he's never going to get credit for this. And neither his friends. The guy who wrote it ended up getting a little bit of credit for it. And I thought, Carl had created a deck. I mean, I helped, but my suggestion was put green and white. But he'd already had the green and white, so my suggestion was to use the white bordered brushlands, really. Anyway, he had come up with an idea for a deck that would actually hurt Flametongue Kavu. Those decks were just rampant at the time. So we had all these cards that could beat the Fires decks. We knew that they were going to be huge there because everybody was playing them. Mm-hmm. And Carl came up with a deck that it did not lose to Fires the entire time. And I thought, what? I want to make sure Carl gets credit for this. So I submitted to them. They knew Carl. They liked it. And I've been writing except for, a couple of months in summer of 2001 and couple of weeks off here and there for weddings and stuff, but so going on 6 years now. So I noticed a post on one of the forums from somebody who went by the handle of Evil Betty. I don't know where that comes from. I'm sure there's a fantastic story about it. Anyway, I noticed it said that he was in Baghdad, and of course you can put anything on there where you're from. So I noticed some of his following posts. He mentioned being in the army, being in Iraq. Finally got in touch with him. His name is Nathan. He is actually in Baghdad. And, of course, he probably doesn't have many Magic cards there. He's been playing online. But I offered to get some people together and throw some cards together, and we got a lot of cards to send him. So Evan came up with an idea. Instead of just packing them up and sending him and letting him dig through, how about we just go through and build some decks with whatever's in there. Still let him go through and, he's going to have thousands of other cards to go through. So, Nathan, if you see this, because I know how long it takes the military to get the mail there, so you will see this before you get the cards. We're going to build some decks for you. It may just be a couple, and there's going to be thousands of cards for you to discover. We're also going to separate out the lands because, let's be honest, you don't want to have to discover the lands. You want to know where they are. A couple of these tournament packs have some non-basics. One of them has the building blocks of an Affinity deck. We thought we'd put that aside in case you did want to do it. We've got a set of Urza's lands, Urzatron, or as I was brought up with, called Urza's Power Grid, because it was just regular until they all got online, and then zzz, but it's Urzatron now, so since I just follow the trend.
So, Evan, if you had a dream wish of Wizards printing a card for a core set, what would it be?
Returning it?
Yeah, like returning a card that's not in a core set now, but you want it back.
Death Cloud.
Yeah, I love that card.
I would love to see Death Cloud back. I really think it's just such an iconic archetype.
It's awesome.
It's either green-black or it's mono-black, and I just like having that sort of reset button in the metagame. I'd love to see Mutilate. I thought Mutilate was like 1,000 times better than
That was a
Divination.
great design.
Yeah, I thought it was designed very well. It obviously told you how you have to play that card, but you could still play. And now there's Urborg, which, hello, that'd be the coolest Mutilate enabler ever.
Yeah.
Buy 4 Urborgs. If you like playing black at all, buy 4 Urborgs.
4? But you never play 4.
Give one to a friend. Jeez, come on.
Throw us a freaking boon here.
Yeah, man. All right, get 3 Urborgs. I've started.
Black also needs is Rotling Reanimator. I harp on this card all the time. It's like my favorite card because anything that hoses mass removal is awesome to me. When you have to think about, if I Wrath here, I could lose the game, that's awesome.
Color of the Claw needs.
Color of the Claw, too. That's another card that I always love because, if I Wrath here, I could lose.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that. That's pretty cool.
If you ask someone a question, whatever it is, whether it's a concession or can I borrow your car, you need to be willing to hear no. Now, I understand where he was coming from in terms of it benefited both parties for this person to concede, but that's only if you consider the benefits purely from what happens after the match is over. Your turn. Apparently, his opponent got a benefit intrinsically from playing the game. Does it not hurt somebody else's chance maybe to get in, or?
Well, it does. I mean, in a way. I'm just talking about in that instance when you're just sitting there and it's like, you're like, hey, Evan, I'm X1, you're X2. I'd like to go to the top 8. And like you said, you got to be prepared for both answers. But for me personally, I would do unto them as I want them to scoop to me, and that's what Zach feels. And but to Zach, apparently he's never been told no, or when he's heard people being told no, it's always in such a overblown fashion, like oh my God, can you imagine that he didn't scoop me in? And so you have tournament players who will sort of form this culture of, if you don't sacrifice the lamb, then you're just not a real tournament player because you just don't really get it. You don't really understand the drive and the need. It's an unwritten rule
that's kind of weird.
Right. But do you think that there's people, that there's professional players right now who draw extra cards because they can, don't take dual damage, don't take ping damage?
I think the answer to that question is
17, not flashback.
Oh.
Yes, but not because they're pro players, because they're players. I think there are players at every level who do that, consciously or unconsciously, purposely or not purposely, but it's still a violation of the rules. If you're going to play tournament level, whether it's the local Saturday tournament or it's Pro Tour, you need to be playing the game properly. And if you're not, then you're breaking the rules.
Basically, the argument was that these coincidences and these mistakes happened over and over.
And if they happen over and over again, especially at that level, that means one of two things. The person is purposely cheating, or they're accidentally cheating by playing very sloppy and giving themselves an advantage that way. Either way, it's cheating. The only determination is the only thing that the judge has to determine is, was this on purpose or was it accidental?
You know, Sulfur Elemental is just like, wow.
It is some good.
Well, I mean, it was a Soltari Priest against the Red Blue was almost like a game over.
Oh yeah, they had to start racing you at that point.
They had to hopefully get their Hellkite quickly before they died horribly.
Right.
Or whatever. I don't know what else.
And now it's like they're running this guy main. He's not even sideboard anymore. I mean, he's because
good.
he's so good against.
He shuts down Martyr. He shuts down the Martyr, which is really what I like about him.
Well, Martyr they said was
Martyr.
dead. I mean, you know, Martyr's dead because of extirpate. Now Martyr's dead because of sulfur. Martyr's just friggin' dead.
Thank God. I hate
Period.
that card.
That card.
I would burn that card.
And yet, when you're talking about
that's like the number 2 hated card now for me. Plow Under, Martyr of Sands.
Martyr of Sands was really horrible. I don't know what was going on there.
So annoying.
What were they thinking?
I played Boros. I was having so much fun playing Boros, and then people started playing Martyr.
Okay, you're the game designer. What were they thinking when they thought about Martyr? Were they thinking, oh, no one's going to play this in a fashion that will make it?
Well, they mentioned that they were afraid when they printed Martyr. They thought that they had let it go too easy. They thought that 3 was too much. And then it came out, and nothing happened for a long time. Yeah. And then people found it, and they're like, "Oh my God!"
Especially the Proclamation of Rebirth.
Right. So they're like, "Oh, people figured it out, and then it made that top 8, whatever." But there's so many tools now to get rid of it. Sulfur Elemental, I think, was a direct result of partly because of Martyr, partly because of bringing back the Shadow Creatures. They wanted to give you answers to all of these things. There's some really incredible white cards that are X and 1s, X1 guys, Savannah Lines, Priests, so on and so forth. So, in a way I can see how they worked answers in later on. I mean, but, at least they worked answers in a little bit quicker. Sometimes they do it and they screw it up bad, like Kataki. Like, where in the hell was Kataki when Champions
came out?
If Kataki had, well, it was in
a year or
Saviors.
Two later.
Right. If Kataki had come out with Champions of Kamigawa, the base set, Affinity would not have been banned. Period. It would have been just like Jite. It would have been a pain in the ass, and you had to be prepared for it. But if you dropped Kataki, you'd win. And Watsu would have hid behind that for months and months and months until until Affinity finally left totally. And they would say, "Well, you got Kataki, And they gave you Kataki just until it was so late that it hated everybody out of the game. And even then, I'm actually glad that Kataki came that far along, because it took those bannings for people to realize, this was just bad for the game. This was just awful. Now, if they had given you the ultimate silver bullet, which was Kataki, then you could say, well, this is really awful for the game, but they gave us the ultimate silver bullet where Affinity just has to scoop if they don't have some way to kill it. And then it would be about not only dropping the Kataki, it would be about keeping the Kataki alive. And then they would say, well, there's this push and pull between getting Kataki and keeping it alive. And, it completely wrecks this deck, 100%. Why would you ever even try it? Then it would be a tooth and nail, a little bit of Affinity, a lot of bit of Kataki, type metagame. And it's just a mess. All I'm saying is I think Affinity was never good, and the way that Affinity was handled was bad, because I think it should have been banned. And I'm sad that it took as long as it did, but I'm glad that they eventually banned it before their ultimate silver bullet arrived. Because when you have ultimate silver bullets in the format, they are the ultimate scapegoats.
They're cop-outs.
They're absolutely scapegoats. You can say, well, I gave you blah, 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 and then people were like, people didn't even play JIT when it was in Standard, or Jite, sorry, when it was in Standard. I'm like, hell, what? I mean, did you go to the same tournaments I did? Because they played it every single round,
every deck
somewhere.
GT. Even control decks played GT.
Absolutely. If for nothing else, to kill somebody else's GT.
That's right.
I mean, it was silly. So, and there was just no amount of evidence that would change it. They just said there's too many silver bullets in the environment. We're not seeing it on the top level. But the problem was, to me, was that your basic Saturday afternoon guy at the card shop saw nothing but GTs all the live long damn day.
And with Troll.
Oh, God.
And that's maybe that is one argument for the local people having more of a voice, or for them monitoring that more than just the Pro Tour.
The city championships mattering, because there you would see that type of card being there every time. Every top 8 would be littered with GTs if that was the case.
Because we know historically that the pro players are going to gravitate toward the control decks. If there are good control decks out there, they will.
Like, remember the Gladio Slifer one, and with gifts, and it was like, man, we didn't see any GTAs anywhere.
Well, yeah.
It's like there's a
Guess
damn
didn't care
reason
about
for
GTA.
it.
Yeah.
Guess didn't care about GTA.
Guess was the
whatever.
ultimate control players deck, and the
I
whole
don't care
damn field
about
play.
you have a GTA, whatever. I'll just play Kikuchios 10 times in a row. And
Yeah, I'll just cycle my Hanakami and block and don't stack damage and whatever, and just that's how they got around it.
Exactly.
And so that was their reason that it was not a problem.
And you don't if that's all you're looking at, you don't see what the average tournament player. See, I read a lot of the articles that they say that they talk about, yes, we designed for the kitchen table player, and we also designed for the Pro Tour players, the Pro Tour qualifiers. There is that middle group of people, and you were talking before who I think my audience is per se. It's just people who want to play in tournaments. They might want to play combo, they might want to play control, they might want to play aggro or aggro control, whatever. But they want to play in Saturday tournaments. They don't have a lot of money to do it. Those are a whole group of people that seem to be. It's like the middle class. It's like forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we played. I mean, that whole spring and summer when we played. GTA
Every single. And I couldn't believe it, like I would see these things like Watsy would say, well, it's not being played at this Grand Prix and it's not being played at this Pro Tour. And you're like, well, yeah, but that's all I ever see when I go to my card shop is everybody's got GTAs or everybody loses. It's the people who had GTAs would win or the people who would stick GTAs would win. And I mean, how many games have you seen that happen?
And the first GTA.
God almighty.
Whoever gets a GTA first and keeps it.
Yeah, keeps it on the table. I guess I'll lose now because my Paladin on vet got a GTA and game's over.
Luann and I will play the game when when I win the lottery. And we go through our things, pay off mom and dad's mortgage, set up college. And I always go with, and get 8 of every Magic card ever printed. And every time, she bites every time. Why do you need 8? You can only have 4 in a deck. I'm like, yeah, but what if I want to build a deck for Jonathan? Gotta have 8 of every Magic card.
No. Those are 4 I actually put back in storage. They're investments.
Yeah. Okay, 9. Right. Need 8 in case I want to make 2 decks, and then 1 to go in the binder so you can just look. Yeah, that's
It's for looking. It's for looking on.
Just for looking. And these are my 2 issues of Captain America dying. This one, don't look directly at it. You can't. I am happy with Magic. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be playing the game. I say things.
I still love the game.
I kid because I love it. No, we say things because we want them to improve. Well, I don't think.
Well, that's the same way. I mean, I poke fun at I poke fun at other Magic personalities because I love the game and I love the culture. And if I didn't like it, I wouldn't bother making fun of Jerome Remy and Mike Flores. So, do you think this is a success? Do you think they're going to be happy to get
great
these?
Success.
Great success.
Good success.
In the deck building.
High five.
All right.
I hope he is. I mean, it's it's not like we're sending over Pro Tour winning decks, but hopefully he'll enjoy having all the things and the discovery.
So at this point, we need to say goodbye.
All right.
So thank you, Chris Romeo.
Really
thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. And
glad to have you.
And we're sending this one to Nathan.
Yep.
So hi, Nathan, and
take care of yourselves out there.